you got a jam, let me know because like I said,
Yeah.
I'm in here wearing this shirt because my yellow crystal clean shirt. I don't need lighting with that. And anyway, hey guys, we're live. Doug and Ray coming to you. We're just sitting here kind of chit chatting about our lives. But yeah, I somehow pulled a week of night shifts.
You're pulling a week of night shifts.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I've been pulling 2 weeks of couch shifts.
Oh, that Doug, I'm so sorry. You know, you sound like you've just been into it. I mean, just whooped by it. So,
you know, that's the hardest thing about it all. So first of all, I've got some blood sugar issues to begin with. And so if I don't eat kind of regular and normal, I have problems because of that. And with COVID, there is no, especially for me on this round. And I say this round because this is supposedly the second time I've had it. Right. Now, the first time, I mean, there was no actual testing and, that sort of thing. So, matter of fact, this time I wasn't going to be getting a test, but my wife had gotten the test. And then one of the days I was just so sick, and she's like, we got to take you to the doctor, And I'm like, to me, it was pointless. I already know what they're going to do and say. So I finally gave in. I went, and the doctor's like, yeah, you got COVID. And he goes, Mr. Gore, you're a very, very sick man. Go home. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. So I apologize if I start getting on a little coughing fit. I'm still trying to,
we were working at the, hospital all weekend, and I was amazed at the emergency room was just constantly, we have a sky bridge going into the emergency room, and it was always 5 or 6 deep with people in there. And I talked to somebody that works in the ER today, and they're like, yeah, that was all COVID patients, So.
Yeah.
Oh man, but and you will know this. Everybody that I spoke to that knows us together or knows of you asked me, "How is Doug? Is Doug okay?" Blah blah blah. And I don't mean blah blah blah, but I mean you truly had people that were interested in your well-being. So
I appreciate it all. I appreciate all the texts, the emails, the messages, and all that kind of stuff. And apologize to those that I just didn't. I couldn't physically talk. I couldn't physically, I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do these things. So if I didn't respond to you, right away, that's why. I just couldn't. I mean, there was no.
Ed Ross just said he lost 5 family members in the last month to COVID. I lost an aunt. Found out yesterday that today's my days are starting to blend in again ever since the convention.
Well, my wife officially has pneumonia, so we'll have to try to keep an eye on her for that, that kind of thing. But
all these accolades that people are happy that you're that you're not ill. So look at that. There's tons of
the funniest part about it is if you'd have seen me 2 hours ago, you'd have been like, there's no way he's going to make it tonight. So, I had a pretty full beard. So I was able to get it all cut off for you tonight just to look sexy for you. That was it. And today's really kind of my first day truly up.
Damn.
And
that's crazy. I mean, I remember whenever you said, you tested positive, and that would have been what, I guess last Saturday, I think you were.
So it'd be like 16, 17 days ago, 18 days ago.
You were hoping to still teach, and you'd be past the CDC guidelines, but I don't think you could have stood up on Wednesday, much less.
That was the whole thing. Even though that I would, the day of the convention, I would have already been past, because even when I went in and finally got tested, which wasn't very long ago, and I was really sick, that they gave me the exact same paperwork as they gave her being my wife, and just said, hey, 10 days, don't worry about it no more. Well, even today, my wife ran a fever. And so the old adage is, if you're running a fever, you're contagious, So it wouldn't have been right to go to the huge, regardless of what the medical professionals were saying with that 10-day thing. And then on top of that, I physically could not have done it regardless. So there's nothing. I couldn't have even made the drive up there. I mean, I would have been passed out the entire time, on the way up there. So just one of them things.
Yeah.
I would say there's a few things that, if you catch COVID, that I would recommend, and that is having a bunch of fresh cut fruits already available for you. Your appetite. And again, I know that a lot of people get it a little bit differently, and they react a little bit differently. But and even with my wife and I, we were both sick at the same time, and we both shared some symptoms, and we both had a few things that were a little bit different. Oddly enough, the weirdest thing to me was the top of my head felt like it was sunburnt. So if I touched my head, it was like it was burnt. But having some fresh cut fruits available, because you're not going to want to cut them. So, if you're getting sick, have somebody bring you over some fresh cut fruits, apples, watermelon. I can't tell you, saved the day for both my wife and I, because even though we couldn't eat and we couldn't, you could grab that little chunk of watermelon and, get that liquid inside you to begin with, and just that little, coolness going down into your stomach, and peaches, watermelon, apples, just all kinds of little fresh fruits, because it's surprising what doesn't taste good. I mean, look, what is one of those things that you normally can eat that you can never go wrong with? That's bacon, right? Bacon is like, and man, couldn't have bacon. And surprisingly enough, everything was so salty, it wasn't even funny. For me, everything was just so salty.
You're dehydrated. That's interesting. Well, that's bacon. That sounds horrible.
Yeah,
that sounds
Pedialyte.
Right.
We used a lot of Pedialyte to help us, keep up, and chicken broth, beef broth, that sort of thing, just enough to get something inside you to keep it inside you, that kind of a thing. Water.
Well, knock on wood, we haven't, dang, Rusty is saying a friend of mine, avid fitness guy, was confirmed, passed away in his sleep while he was at the huge. It's amazing. I mean, as strange as it is, I'm literally to the point of, I wouldn't be surprised. We had to see the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse come walking down Monroe Street at this point, because we've got war, we've got pestilence, famine, and what was it, the wild beasts. I think we've kind of nailed about 3 of those 4 at this point. So if my dog starts looking at me funny, I'm pretty sure the end of the world is here.
End time is coming. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact.
Well, you were very missed at the convention, and likewise, you also missed a very good convention. My kudos go out to Bobby and his merry band of thieves.
Yeah.
It was Steve told me the fourth horse's death. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty sure Biden is the guy on the old pale horse. Realizing that. Sorry, I need to get off politics.
He can't even get on a horse. What are you talking about? Maybe a pony.
Maybe they unplug it in front of Walmart. And yeah. Rusty is right. They do have the murder hornets now in the locust. So hey, maybe we've got all 4 signs of this shit at this point. And just too stupid to know it. God. But,
well, one of the things that's been asked of me quite a bit was, did I get the vaccine ahead of time?
Mhm.
If not, would I get the vaccine? And so here's the thing. No, I did not get the vaccine. And I won't get the vaccine. I don't see myself doing that. There were some times during it where I was like, man, I wish I got the vaccine. But the question was asked, would I recommend the vaccine? And for me, I guess it depends on you and where you're at in your business to begin with. So the people that asked, I pretty much all of them recommended yes, getting the vaccine. And the reason simply being was that you can't, for me, this will be really coming up on 3 weeks. And if I don't, I can tell you right now, I could not go out and do a job. I couldn't. So
Right.
unless your business can handle you not being there for that 3 weeks, and it's only now that I feel like I'm making good decisions again.
Right.
So if you can't handle, and this is why you build your business and run it like a business to be able to handle these kinds of things. So even at this stage, if I still own Cajun Soft Wash, I still could have had my time off because my guys still could have run my company for me.
And I'm really trying to figure out,
you
know, Christians and past Christians will understand. I'm still trying to figure out if I should get this tattooed here on the forehead or on the right hand. I don't know. I'm a little, not really into face tattoos. So I guess here it goes on the, was it on the hand and the forehead, right?
Right.
But you bring up an amazing point on that. I've never been one. You and I think, have always both been saying, well, what we love about this is there's no rules and pressure. As far as there's no rules of what you have to do. Nobody's saying you have to run a multi-truck organization. You don't have to go out there and do it my way, do it Doug's way. You don't have to be an owner operator. But I think one of the reasons that you and I have always talked about, one of the reasons you and I have always talked about growing the business is, in case something does happen to you. And I mean, look at what's happening to Chris Kinsey up there in Maryland right now.
Oh, absolutely, with his leg.
Broke his ankle. He's an owner operator working with his wife, doesn't have other employees. I know
she just recently switched away from her job.
Right. She just left and left her job, and they went all in as a family. And, it's so again, I'm never going to say if you're uncomfortable with being anything more than a one-man operation, I understand. But this is what happens whenever you go down as a one-man operation. Who's there to pick up the slack? And at minimum, you had better get some disability insurance and get something to help with income whenever this happens. Otherwise, you're screwed. You're just screwed.
And it doesn't take long. I mean, it's whether it's COVID or it's a broken ankle, just like what happened with Chris. There is no rhyme nor reason as to what happens and when it happens. It just happens.
Yeah.
And so you could be out of your work. I just had one of the guys at Cajun, his wife passed away this weekend, and so he's going to be out. Not that that's something to worry about with your business per se, but it is. Things like this happen. And so when these things happen, you have to be able to swing and adjust and be able to pick up and keep going and move forward and, do all sorts of things. And, while we're on that, I've seen, I haven't been able to respond much or do much, Facebook or otherwise, but, I've seen a couple discussions about employees and, going back and forth with employees. And, you really do have to remember that, is it hard to hire in this environment today? Sure it is. But you also need to work on building a culture around you that the guys that are there want to be there. And that's something that helps when you're trying to hire, and they can help bring in new hires as well, because
absolutely.
they are preaching your choir.
You know, I did that posting a couple months ago where I had 2 employees here at Spray Wash that had absolutely become cancerous. And one of the things I was telling someone the other day, that I love my job at this point, and I love coming in the morning, having coffee with the guys and just BSing, and the laughter is back, and we have a good time, and we enjoy each other's company. And I mean, there's camaraderie in the mornings, you know, and laughter, and everybody's looking forward to being here, which is nice. Whereas, you know, the 2 guys that have become cancerous, and they were talking about, you know, that, you know, one of them in his resignation letter and his little Facebook whine, it's a toxic environment, blah, blah. Well, guess what, bitch? You're the guy who made it a toxic environment, because everything that everybody left here is happy that you're gone, and everybody here is having a great time. And guess what? The only people wallowing in the, oh, it's toxic and this is bad and blah, 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 is you and your guy that you talked into to leaving, because everybody else is happy that you're gone. All the new guys are grateful that they have a job paying $18, $19 an hour, you know, and the opportunity to go up there and make commissions. I mean, this company that purchased us, they have technicians in the $150,000 range. Understand that. And this isn't talk. I've met their technicians, but on their pay scale, on their piece pay scale, they have multiple technicians, not owners, not people that have bought in, not investors, but technicians, multiple technicians that are making more than 6 figures a year.
Wow. And what was the application process there again? I'm sorry.
I mean, it's amazing, you know. I mean, it's truly, but they've got this whole part of it figured out now. I mean, are you going to be busy? Yeah, you are. You know, to make that $100,000 a year on there, it's great. You know, one of my guys will be transferring over to the piecework here very soon, and he's extremely excited about it. And you know, well, I said you got to be their boss, not their friend. Yeah, absolutely. You do have to, you know, be their boss.
But I think there's a somewhere in between that you have to be able to mesh there in between too. And
you know, you want to, I think, to make it the place where people want to come in, at least on a small area like this. We probably do get a lot more personal with the guys than say a Walmart, a UPS, some big thing like that, because we are like a family in that respect. But at the same time, you know, I said we were always very slow to hire, and we were probably even slower to fire than we should have been. But we never wanted to bring in the wrong person in here and upset the mix. But whenever the mix is getting upset from the inside, and you have you know, they have a Steven is, oh, I think we just double clicked that. Again, we did it. Okay, you click it, because I'm clicking at the same time. You know, your family but we're like what Steven's saying here. There's a way to be a boss and have respect, but also know they can cut up with you and be personal with an open door policy.
Open door policy.
You don't want to be that guy where it's just like, yeah, I'm the boss, you know, and you don't want any financial resentment in there. And part of the way you stop that financial resentment is to let them know and let them see that you're working just as hard as they are on any given project on any given day. And that's, you know, that's what this field is about. And, you know, I think I said that at my address at the keynote, is whenever I got up and I went totally off message, whenever I start me going off message, go figure. But whenever I started my discussion on facility managers, I kind of got spun up and was talking about all the people selling you classes and selling you this and selling you, you know, oh, come and buy my thing and you're going to make it easy. And you can I do most of my bidding just from sitting in a lawn chair out at a public pool, blah, blah, blah. and that's anybody that tells you this thing is easy and for a couple $100 they can make it, easy.
I'm still looking for that easy button.
They're literally lying to you or trying to sell you something. And in this case, they're trying to sell you something. They're absolutely trying to sell you something, saying, okay, if you buy my program, it's going to be easy, because there ain't shit easy about it. It's a lot of things. It's fulfilling. It's financially rewarding. It's fun. It's such an immediate sense of satisfaction. Such a amazing stuff. But as far as easy, there's nothing easy about it. Whether you're a single owner operator, whether you're a 2-truck company, a 10-truck company, none of them.
That's the one that I wanted right there.
God, we're doing it again.
We're doing it again. Yeah.
Up the learning curve. Absolutely. That's one of those. And we're one of the reasons why I actually like and get along with Bobby, why I like and get along with Jason Guyman, is because these guys are out here selling stuff, but they're not promising you how easy it's going to be. They're not sitting here saying, just guaranteeing your success on stuff. But I have so many people just who oversell the ease of you buy my class, you're going to be successful. I mean, we've got Spray Wash Pro. We've got pretty, I consider, good education and a lot of information that people are don't have access to out there, that we've put that out there. And we still have never guaranteed that, hey, if you have this information, you're going to be successful, because me nor Doug can ever guarantee somebody else's success on there.
No, never can. Doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. It's not a guarantee. You have to do your part in making that happen. I like what Jim says here. Happy employees bring their hardworking friends on the team. That's how Chick-fil-A does it, and that's how they have a bunch of great customer service. Absolutely. You got to follow the path. Depending on where you want to go, follow what works. To be honest with you, I'm surprised that more places like McDonald's and such haven't taken the Chick-fil-A philosophy and the way they do things and ran with it themselves, because it's obviously a very successful thing. And creating that, I can also tell you that going through, I've only been through Chick-fil-A a couple times. I'm not a big Chick-fil-A guy, but when I have been through, they're nice. They're friendly. They're almost like they're happy to be there. They're happy to help you, kind of a thing.
Yeah, you actually believe it.
Yeah.
And but here's something real funny though. It's not just because I want to give a plug to compare. The fast food is amazing, because think about it. What happened whenever McDonald's was the first one to come in there and do the double drive-through, where you pay first and then you go and pick up your food on that. And then they started doing the double drive-through lanes, and Chick-fil-A started doing that. Then, now Chick-fil-A, and most Chick-fil-A's that I go to, they just take your money out there in the drive-through lane. The person's there, but you can't. But the same way with Chick-fil-A and the customer service, you have to believe it. You have to literally make it a culture of yours, and put it in. You can't just sit here and regurgitate words. You can't. This even ties into the internet teachers out there. You can't read a book and regurgitate stuff and say, okay, you'll be successful if you do X, because you really have had to practice it as well. Now, going back to the drive-thrus, how many times do we go to a Burger King or a Wendy's or an Arby's, and that 2 drive-through window is just shut down. I mean, the first one you go to is literally shut down, and there's boxes in there. You know,
boxes are, yeah. As I was going to say, they got the racking right there.
It's just full of shit in there. You know, the racks are in there. Just because you build it doesn't mean you've actually figured out how to make it successful. It doesn't mean that you know what in the heck
and that's
you're
where
doing.
that's where having good systems in place, I think, is really important, because I can tell you, Chick-fil-A, I mean, they've got that thing so systemized. Again, I don't go through very often. I went through maybe 6-8 weeks ago, something like that. I was surprised because they had 4 lanes of traffic, if you would, that they had 4 people taking orders. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how in the heck are they going to know which order is mine because it bottlenecks all down into the one,
right,
kind of a thing. And yet the guy walks right up to me, hey, Mr. Doug, and blah, 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 and here's your thing, and get the heck out of here. Oh, great.
Well, you know, you can't fake sincerity. You can't fake.
Absolutely.
I mean, they obviously have done that. And it's funny, I actually had a conversation that came in a couple of days ago. So I was a couple of days late on there. And I'm not going to give out the names, but here's the gist of it. He said, I have a question that there's a company in our area that has taken the PPP class from Spray Wash Academy. Recently, I've gotten a few calls, voicemails brought to our attention about his bad Google reviews, that the company is killing plants and not acknowledging when customers call or not picking up the phone. So my question is, what do I tell when the customer tells me the certificate I present to them is not worth the paper it's printed on because of the company's actions? You know, and the person, and then they wrote me back, and it spurred me into action because I had been thinking of it. I just hadn't responded. But, you know, and it's the same thing that we just talked about. And my response was this: I'm sorry I haven't gotten back between the huge. I'm reading this literally. I haven't chanced. So basically what you're telling me is that one of your competitors has taken the PPP class but still kills plants and doesn't follow up with the homeowners. Is that boiling it down to the plain and simple facts? Because if that's it, the explanation is pretty darn simple. I can wear a roof harness all day long, but if I don't strap in, I can still fall my ass off a roof. I could attend Harvard, but if I don't pay attention to classes, it doesn't make me any smarter. I could buy a Bible, but that doesn't make me a Christian. Unless you actually go in and put practice into what you've learned, you know, education means absolutely nothing. Unless you actually believe in a company culture, it means nothing. Unless you figure out how to run the double drive-through, you can build that sumbitch all you want to, but if you don't, you know, train Mabel on how to train her cashiers on talking, and then the other person doing it, doesn't run any more efficiently. But and I want to say a few more things, you know, and we don't have a way or authority or of anything of after we teach the people. And that's why the certificate says this company has completed the class. It doesn't actually say that this person is worth a damn. And I think that's actually, you know, and he responded back, you know, he said, you know, he appreciated the comment and understood. I mean, but it's the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So,
you know, I think for me though, I have how I would respond to that, if especially if it's the homeowner asking me about that sort of thing. I mean, one of the things that I think those that know me know, I'm always going to be, you know, honest and forthright. That's it, because that's how I'm going to win every single time. Right. And in that case, I'm going to use exactly what Ray is saying, and I'm going to be throwing it back out there that, you know, just because the company did get themselves certified in doing it, they're obviously not following the procedures that are being taught. And that is what we do. So, excuse me, sorry. So being able to throw that back out there to say, you know, yeah, there are a lot of bad companies out there. There's a lot of certifications out there that people get very specifically only for the certification, being able to say that they got certified. And that's a shame that happens out there. But you have to be able to counteract that with, this is why we follow the procedure so that doesn't happen to you. Sorry that has happened to you, kind of a thing.
Yeah. But it's literally, you're right. It's not worth the paper it's printed on if you're not actually going to go and put it into practice. If you're not actually going to use the information you learn, and that's not just plant and property. I mean, it's anything in your. I mean, apply this to literally anything in your life. I mean, I can buy a brand new pressure washer, and it isn't actually going to go and make me money if I don't crank it up and figure out how to use it. In fact, if I don't know how to use it and I just red tip everything, it's probably going to cost me money. So much of it has to do with you right there, the end user of what you're going to actually take away and put into practice. Yeah,
I can throw that into anything out there. Like Jim was saying, the driver's license thing, right? Well, look, throw anything at me and I can counteract it. Meaning that if you said, well, it's the same thing with, there's a bartender, and a bartender gets certified in being able to mix these specific drinks and to do this specific thing. Hey, that's great. But does that bartender, is he watering his liquor down a little bit beforehand? Is he, so that's in any field and in anything you do, you're going to have that.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's you know what, if you don't practice what you preach, and again, same thing as Chick-fil-A, same thing as McDonald's, same things as plant and property protection, same thing as anything. But and let's move on to, it's so much I feel like you and I have hardly we talk 2 times a day.
Yeah, and haven't had a chance
I
to
haven't
speak.
even been able to hardly talk. Something I've come across lately, and I got to share this out. I would love to know who is doing this. If you guys want to, here, I'm going to go out and do it. It could even be one of these guys in this very
group.
It could be a guy in this group. It could be one of these very people that are doing it themselves. But that thing called pressure washing punks. There is somebody out here lampooning, and I'm gonna actually give this group a plug. Because it is freaking amazing. Let me share my screen out here.
This one you were telling me about?
This is the one that I was telling you about.
And then I got sick and I haven't done squat.
Oh my God, it is the funniest.
The sidewalk or even your neighbor's lawn.
We
have the answer for you.
So this one guy, they're sitting there making, they're basically comparing old crappy infomercials with one of the things that the guy's doing. Hold on, let me share a screen. And I recommend all you guys ought to go out there, not now because you're watching us. But here we go. So let me put this. So Pressure Wash Punks is the name of the channel on here. They have gone with Billy Davidson, this dude, Vadan. They went easy on Bobby Walker. You could tell that they really pulled some punches on him. They didn't try to eviscerate him. And then this guy, I wish I knew their names that well, but I just don't. But yeah, if you get a chance, check out this channel and subscribe. I can't wait to see what else they do, but they are pretty freaking relentless.
Now I'm gonna have to check it out.
They're and I tell you, it's somebody that actually has some really, really good inside information into this industry. Because like in one of the videos, they're comparing Cody, one of the guys, are comparing somebody in there, and they use a clip of Barney Fife to compare him. And Barney, and this person is actually a reserve sheriff's deputy too. So it's somebody that's really intimately familiar with this industry, with several of the things that they've said. Yeah, Yarborough. That's who I was thinking of. But I was. I can't wait to meet this guy, at least until we wind up on there.
Yeah.
But we're not selling a success package, so maybe.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. And seriously, at least one of those guys, they really rag on him, hardcore about that. Yeah, Cody Yarborough, that's who that is. Actually, I like Cody. Consider him a friend, but they're pretty relentless on that whole video. But I was telling you about the Huge. So Huge, I would guess there was well over 1,000 in attendance there.
That's good. Good.
Yeah. The trade show was really nice. Trade show was, I'd say, better than Branson. A lot of new vendors whom I had never, sometimes you get to where the trade shows used to be, okay, the same water-fed pole guys. Oh, not the same, but like 8 different water-fed pole vendors in there. So eventually you're like, okay, how much technology do I need in water-fed poles? And this is coming from a non-window cleaner guy. Hell, there might be window cleaner guys that are just like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. But I saw a huge blend of bless you, of different guys that are out there, different services. The drone company was there. Not that I'm a huge big fan of the $24,000 a year drone, but I
think there's there's a niche market for that if they can.
There absolutely is. Mm-hmm. There would be, one or two, if you use that thing 6 or 7 times a year, it probably would pay for itself, in 125-foot rentals. I mean, I'm thinking of, there's about 3 spots that I have right now that it would be perfect for. I would not want to wash the whole building doing that. I mean, but it's literally to do a peek at a couple of places. It would be amazing, but not to try and do the whole building.
Right. Yeah, I don't see the practical application, the daily application for us, but I see it as a good niche. Somebody taking that specific tool, if you would, and going and doing specific parts of jobs for people. That was kind of my deal with the Cyclone. I still love the concept of the Cyclone, where I could have gone out and done the major field areas and then allowed the contractors themselves to finish up, the other work around it.
Moly. I love that movie. Yeah, Everett is saying that. I know Everett, like us, he did a pre-show class as well. And it was also so good. This is one of the things that I said this before about. We've said this before about conventions, a couple of years ago, and you'll get people out there that consider themselves leaders in the industry, and God, Doug, you and I have, at this point in this industry, we have watched so many leaders in the industry come and go. Where are they now? At this point, and they'd run their mouth, but I don't need to do stuff like this, and I don't need to do that. And it's crazy, but whenever you look at some of the more established names, I don't want to say the bigger name, but you look at the guys who do education in this industry, and we either do it out of a love or for truly a vocation. The guys come to this thing. The guys go to these events. They go to the Power Wash Store event in January. They go to the PWNA trade show, which unfortunately just got canceled. But there's a reason why them, and I consider myself, not worthy, but I'm still a part of, I'm not one of the great ones out there, but I go to these things. I wouldn't miss it for the world, because I might we've always said we make our profit around the margins. Okay, I'm probably not going to learn something about pressure washing per se. I'm probably not going to learn something about roof cleaning or basic business. But I could pick up that little thing to where something that changes our margin, because whenever your business gets to a certain size, you make your money around the edges. You make your margin around the seams and the edges of things.
Yeah, sometimes it's surprising where it is that you make your money. I know for us, a lot of our residential stuff isn't where we make our money. That's just what keeps us employed. It's our government work, our commercial jobs that actually made us the money, kind of a thing.
I mean, and think about it. If you're out there rolling out $1 million a year in production, if you could make yourself 5% a year, if you could do something that makes you 5% more profitable, if just by changing small certain things that are, because nobody's sitting here going, oh, I'm going to revamp your whole lifestyle, because I don't want to do that either, because that's pain for me. But if there's one small thing that I could do on $1 million, of 5% around the edges is $50,000. Hell, that could be the taxes for the year right there. That could be, I mean, it's
that's why I'm surprised about it.
Those little extra tweaks that we could do to systems that are already in place. That's where you can wind up making some money.
That's why I'm surprised at Bobby's comment. Again, not being there, I didn't get to see it, but Bobby said the only bad thing about the trade show, in his opinion, was the low ceilings and the lack of CRMs. And that's surprising. I could see where he's going with that, because to me, a CRM would be an essential tool that could easily make you back 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. So I'm surprised that they weren't there.
The low ceilings were kind of weird. Oh, that's so funny. Mitch, you got me in again. The low ceilings were interesting, but I'll tell you one benefit of the low ceilings is it made the trade show seem like it went on and on and on and on. Branson was Branson looked smaller than it was because it was such an open area. If you remember that trade show, when you looked out over the floor, it actually made it seem underwhelming. But this one had low ceilings, but it really did go on forever. And it seemed like it went Everett Abrams, here's a great example. And I think, I don't mean to speak for Everett. I don't at all, but Everett does so much of the wood and the decks and the staining and sealing and the restoration.
How he became known as the wizard.
Exactly. But, think about it. If you could get a technique to save 5% in product, if you could do a technique to save 2.5%, 3% in product, would that not be a massive hit to the bottom line? I mean, it would, on there. So that's why I say we work around these margins. We get our general things set up, but then we get out here and work on those margins to really, really streamline things and maximize our profits.
I'll give props there to Perry Tate on that as well. Again, I'm not a window guy, but I mean, I constantly see innovation coming from that direction, if you would, and changing things up. I just saw today some new squeegee thing that's out. Again, I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently, but I see constant innovation coming that direction. And to me, that's something that I like to see. And I like to see that in this industry. And I like to see it in everything that we do, where people are making changes. And, Tim Hazelton with Proportioner and all that. Right. Man, I love that. Tom, I'm feeling a little bit better still. I'm trying to slide here through this little thing we got going on. We're getting there.
Mm-hmm. It'll you'll be stronger every day. It'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So you back up amongst the living there, because missed having you around. So.
Well, I'll say this. I know that there was somewhere around 1,000 people at the convention. I think that there would have been many more if because like myself, I caught COVID. I know several others. Mike Oyen had caught COVID, or I think his wife caught COVID, so he didn't go. And so you had a lot of people that caught COVID and did the right thing and just didn't show up. And then, of course, I know Bobby's not that sexy. So if I would have been there, it would have drawn more of the crowd just because of sexy. Right. But
I mean, they didn't have me as a keynote either, and that really hurt as well too. So it is what it is. I get it.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Um,
All right, so let's see, what do we got here? Oh yeah, signage was bad too. Lots of little misses that we'll hit next time. Look, I'll say this as far as the huge convention is concerned. This is the first year of the huge convention. What I mean by that is that since the new ownership has changed, there were going to be hiccups. There were going to be headaches. There were going to be some missteps. And the one thing I like seeing is like what Bobby's saying. Hey, Bobby's picking up on things that, hey, this sucked, that sucked. Personally, I felt that the huge convention did a little bit of wrong on themselves by not utilizing Bobby a little bit more. But what I'm saying here is that they're picking up on the things that went wrong and, looking at addressing them towards the next year, which I think, you can't ask for anything better than that, to find your faults in yourself and in your process and then fix those faults going forward.
See, Bobby seems a whole lot smaller in person. Jason Upner is saying, main speaker or a hit, rebook him again. And I stepped in to see Jason Evers, who always just rocks it. And a lot of people get me and Jason Evers confused because we're so very, very similar looking. That's a joke, a private joke that I've had with Jason several times, because he's like rock solid, not an ounce of body fat, no gray hair, actually hair, and the hair that he has is gray, and we're the exact same age. And I sort of got, I feel like every time I'm next to Jason Evers, I feel like I'm in that Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Twins. I'm Danny DeVito. But my only Bobby's sitting there, and I didn't see, other than the pre-show, I'd say there were some signage issues with the pre-show. But once I saw the show itself kick off, I didn't see an issue whatsoever. It seemed like it flowed well. It seemed like it attended. The classes were full. I loved what I saw. A non-class elevator.
There you go.
Bobby, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Love you, brother. You're a good guy. You're one of the good ones. I don't care what they say. Okay, some of the people I can't know. No, Bobby's good.
Now that he's gone, we can talk bad about him.
The show sucked.
Let's actually happen to talk nice about that guy.
I had a great time. I have nothing negative to say about it. There was some weirdness on it being on multiple levels up there, but that's not anything that the huge has any, they have to go with the space that's prevented to them. And you know what? That's something John Sacco is pointing this out. For their first time as owners, they really did an amazing job, because from what I understand, these are, 5 guys that don't do trade shows necessarily. And I know they had a framework from Dad and Chris, and they went and managed, they kind of tweaked their own thing. They did a great job. They really did. I'd say they knocked it out of the park, Mm-hmm. I guarantee you that if I tried to pull something like that off, it wouldn't, we had a part of that one, our first one in Tampa that wasn't, we had about 800 people whenever we did that show in Tampa. And that was a lot more Paul with Power Wash Store than it was us doing that. We just provided the education for that. And Paul did the booking on there. This would have been 4 years ago. And hell, just the education part that you and I did was an absolute nightmare on it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I love the best about the conventions, is just going and seeing, sometimes we get it in our head that, we're at this level, that's up there. And then you go to an event like this and you run into somebody else that you realize you're actually way, way down here in the level of where you maybe want to be, or vice versa, that you feel like, man, I'm so far down here. And then you go and you get to meet the guys that have, 5 trucks or 10 trucks or 15 trucks. And you're like, I don't want to be that guy. I like the guy himself, but you can tell that he's stressed out, or there's
Right.
this, or there's that, or that's the guy that he's got 10 trucks, 15 trucks. He's got systems in place. You can tell he's not sweating anything. It's all just, so you get to meet and get to an understanding of the different levels, because you can have a guy that's at 10 trucks and a guy that's at 10 trucks. And this guy is just stressed out like freaking crazy. And this guy is just smooth sailing, easy as can be. And a lot of that has to do with the systems that that guy puts in place for himself so that he doesn't have to stress out. And then he's got people to take care of him if he's got COVID or if he busts an ankle or, whatever that case may be.
Yeah. And I would say probably the first time that I went to the Huge, first time I attended, I was probably in the $600,000 range, and that would have been the NOLA. And in my business, I wouldn't say I put things into play that I learned from the Huge. I'm not going to sit here and give credit to the Huge because it was me that it gave me the opportunity to meet people and talk, and it was amazing. It was absolutely, and you're right, Doug, because you might be sitting there next to somebody that's at $300,000 a year, and you might be sitting next to somebody that's at $3 million a year. And if you want to use the production level as a qualifier, which I'm not saying is or isn't a good qualifier there, but you'd be surprised at how many people are really crushing it and how many seven-figure companies there are out there that are legit seven-figure companies, not bullshit artists on YouTube that say they are, but you've never seen multiple trucks and you've never seen, they say they're seven figures, but you've never think about seven figures. I want you guys to seriously, let me get off on a little bit of a soapbox right here. Whenever you have somebody claiming that they're a seven-figure company, if you're kicking off at $1 million, if you're working at 300 days a year on that's kicking out $3,333 a day on average for 300 days a year. Look at some of these guys and just think, wait a minute, you've got one truck here or two trucks here. Is that truck and they're falling apart? Is there any way that somebody's really kicking off $3,333 a year on that? You sometimes have to do it. Let me get to some of these. So Teak was saying he talked to TJ for a while. If you're talking about TJ Koloff, one of my absolute closest friends in the world. I love my little garden gnome. He really is a garden, So he was
just like
around a natty tall boy, and somebody's like, "Oh, we're getting a tall boy for." I was like, "That's not a tall boy. That's just a regular natty. He's just got very small hands." Yeah, he just, hell, I'm going back to, me and Tanya and Grace and TJ vacation together multiple times a year. We're actually going back to the Virgin Islands here in about a month together. So let's see here. 2.5 trucks and no stress. Well, some stress, but definitely no money. Yeah, Daniel, you're rocking the whole no money idea. Daniel's amazing. Daniel's just again, one of my favorite people in the world. And, he has a market over by the what we call the river, in North Carolina, to make it. They went and bought. He's doing everything right. They got themselves a vacation house that they can go spend time on the water. Also becomes a business expense because this market's about 2.5 hours, but it's a highly profitable market that he goes to clean windows and wash houses down at at this river area, and it makes sense for them to have a place there. Mm-hmm. Jason thought the show was great. Rebook the main speakers. A+ Power Washing. I'm not sure who that is. Josh Taylor. I've known Josh since he's kind of really gotten into this business. Josh is amazing. I think he's a Conquer coach too, but Josh is a stud. He really is. Rusty, it was my inaugural Huge as well. Yeah, Rusty, I agree. I totally agree on that. Even my 11-year-old was taking notes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. That sucks missing out on it.
1 million top line revenue, but over how many years? Yeah, exactly. And there's an old saying out there that figures lie and liars will figure. So, so much of the you can make $1 million a year, but if it's costing you $900,000, $950,000 a year to make it, you're not doing well. You're not doing nearly as well as you thought you were, because that return sucks. That's a 5% return on there. And
I said it before in the past. I mean, one of the years where I did the most money I had ever turned, I owned 3 businesses at one point, and I worked literally 365 days that year. I worked every single day. I turned more money than I had ever turned in my life, and I made the least amount of money, and I was the most stressed out that I had ever been.
The whole thing is, it's not what you make, it's what you keep, And in fact, I had a lunchtime interview. I had a lunchtime interview today because one of the fun things is up in Spray Wash Pro. Tanya posted my job. They're now trying to hire me out of the company. I made a funny. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds a lot like what I do. You're trying to tell me something, but yes, that's been part of my instruction, is to replace myself. That's part of my gig. Is Crystal Clean wants me to hire myself out on here, but there's just
well, you're ready for the next chapter anyhow.
What's that?
I said you're ready for the next chapter anyhow.
Well, honestly, I like this. I'll get into this in a minute, but again, it's not what you make; it's what you keep. And if you're the business owner, if you're the guy where you should be, if you're the owner, operator, helper, you really should be at about 60, 70%, or you could be at 60 to 70% for the guy that's working out of a truck, out of his house with a helper. Then whenever you start going multiple trucks and office space, you're going to be at 50 to 40%. And then the next level is that 25%. But I was telling somebody today at lunch, a manager that I was interviewing, I said, when we got to that $1 million guy, then that $1 million level, to know that the next gap that we would have had to get to would actually bring us down to about a 20% profit margin. And we sat there and looked at the disparity between what we're making now to what we'd be making with this, and the additional stress level on there. We made the conscious decision to really stay where we are. I mean, and every year I lose business. I used to lose business because of being so booked out. I don't believe Crystal Clean will do that, because Crystal Clean has a goal of multiple millions for my market, and I'm pretty sure they'll find it.
I think that's the important distinction here, though, is that when you've got the 1 truck, 2 trucks, up to the 3 truck level, there's a profit and a comfort. Between that 4 and 6, 8, 7 trucks, I think there's probably less profit in there. And then once you get back up above that again, because you're not getting to that level really without having the systems in place, without having the things in place that allow it to run by itself. And so with those things in place, now you can boil it back down to where you become extremely comfortable. And I think that it's just there's that in between section there.
And it's also, what do you want for your lifestyle? What kind of stress level do you want? And then the bigger you get, the more you're able to go in there and put in those different levels of management, and the more you're able to put in that. And Teague saying, believe people they were crushing it, and then you see him stressing for debt and lack of customers. Made his eyes twisted. And I had my CPA saying, hey, end of last year, hey, what do you want to buy? And I was like, what do you mean what do I want to buy? He's like, well, you're going to spend about $40,000. Either way, you're either going to give it to the government, or you're going to go buy yourself a toy that can be a business write-off. What do you want to do? Because I guarantee you are going to spend this money. So my new tractor is beautiful. Um,
And that's why it's good to have a good CPA as well.
yeah. It's and Jason, that's where I was for a long time in there, 2.5 trucks. And we would have either 3 or 4 trucks on there because we ran real tight on the margins on there, but having a backup truck at all times, whenever, not tight on the margins of profitability, but tight on the margins of scheduling. So I was out on a truck about half the time. And then I had 2 trucks going out every day. So roughly a 2.5 truck scenario. That worked out really, really well for us. Daniel's saying her multiple people are more profitable and happier at or below 500,000 than they are above it. Well, yeah, Daniel, that's what poor people would say. I'm kidding.
So, and that's what I was talking about.
If you're only doing 500,000, you'd be like, yeah, I'm really happy. No. I'm so kidding. Again, please take that with a grain of salt, because so much of this is what are you happy with? I mean, I'm going to give y'all up because I know this happened to somebody who was up in that elite over $1 million over $1 million crowd just during the COVID period. And whenever you're in that and you're kicking out $100,000 a year or $100,000 a month in expenses, your ass can get poor real quick unless you have a bad couple of months there and stuff turns on a dime.
It eats into it really quick.
Yeah, and we've always heard things of top line or bottom line. It's a bottom line. It's the bottom line is so. How many times have you heard that? And we're basically even saying it here. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. I heard the other day, trying to make sure I say this the right way because I don't. But put it like this. I'm not even going to say where I heard this from, but it's understanding you also have to keep your eye on the bottom line, but you very well need to look at the top line revenue as well, because the top line revenue can show you some trends and some changes that are happening literally before your eyes. And if you can't react to top line revenue changes on there, the bottom line revenue changes will kick your ass a lot harder. If you don't know the top line, if you don't know what's happening up front, it can really hurt the bottom and make the changes to the bottom line a lot more severe. Case in point, the person that I was just talking about, I think they had their savings erased. They had to get rid of all of their admin staff and kind of start over. It wasn't easy on them.
Yeah, that's one of the things for me, like especially the last office manager that I hired, who is still there. And, we had a sit down discussion and he's like, look, I know how business owners are. And I know that you look at me as a liability and not as an asset because I'm a non-income producing employee. And I shut him down right then and there. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I see office staff as income producing staff. I mean, are they equating to every dollar when they go out every single day? Well, no, but at the same time, yes, especially the person answering the phone, they are equating to dollars every single day. Being able to give me the reports that tell me this is where we're at in our profit margins, or this is where we're at here, or this is where we're at there, so that we can make adjustments to that top line or that bottom line or somewhere in the middle. You've got to have all of that. And so for me, office staff is not non-income producing staff.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're very much, but that's also at the same time, that's where people can get their butts kicked whenever you start getting too much fat on there with the non.
Absolutely.
Because you'll have, eventually whenever you get 5 or 6 trucks out there, you're almost going to need a shop mechanic or a shop steward out there taking care of things. And maybe that person also becomes a quality assurance manager that rides around and checks the jobs out. Yeah, there, but that is a non-income producing thing, employee, and that can hurt really bad. Jason Huffner, I want to go back to Wild West. Absolutely. Robert Kiyosaki's book is an amazing book. Jason's.
I had picked on Jacob Deal only because I haven't really had coffee in since this whole. It's yeah.
The washing is a vehicle for more passive ventures. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I know several guys that have used this to spread more into additional services and additional less intense, stressful things. And yes, it is. Scott Torsis. You ought to mention, for y'all who don't know Scott's been on with us before and been, guest hosted 6 months worth of cash for a rainy day. I couldn't imagine what I'm sure Scott's payroll itself is over 7 figures a year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and they're also doing, these large multi-million-dollar, multi-$100,000 contracts as well too. So this is one where there's some, I'm reading this. Next year's goal is to have a wife full-time answering phone and make, okay, I thought so I'm going to have a full-time wife next year, but no, your wife is going to be full-time answering phones and making phone sales, keeping calls of me in the field. And that's how Tanya and I, whenever Tanya came on, that's what I did with Tanya out there and said, I want you also marketing commercial businesses. And
hopefully, Jason, your wife gets good enough to be like Tanya, where you literally become an order taker for her.
Yeah, that's what I am. And yeah, Rusty said, hey, you can bleed to death by 1 million cuts. Absolutely. And it's, in fact, sometimes that's even worse whenever you bleed to death by the 1 million paper cuts, because that's, it's one thing if you go out of business or you become non-profitable or you get your ass handed to you by, and Cooper, I haven't seen somebody, D. Cooper's making a comment. I have not seen a post from you. That's probably why I saw this one. But going back to Rusty's comment, I have not seen another comment from D. Cooper. But again, the it's even worse. Like whenever you bleed it up by 1 million cuts, you almost really want to hang your head in shame and go, damn, that sucked because that's all on me. Whenever it's one catastrophic event, okay, you can kind of go, well, I got my ass handed to me there, and this was what led to the downfall of my company and why, and blah blah blah. But whenever
you need to set yourself up to where you can handle those cuts, but
1 million paper cuts is just bad management on the business.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get one serious gash, you should be able to stop that bleeding, so to speak. You should be able to find a way to cut that off and be able to stop that hemorrhaging. Where if it's just a whole bunch of little cuts because you haven't been running your business properly, there is no recovery from that.
Let's. I want to go off on this. Let me coffee up here. So.
I'm only washing to buy land to build RV parks to the places I want to go and live throughout the year. It's funny. I've been looking at building a like a place with a bunch of little cabins on it and lake and all that kind of fun thing, because that's what I'd kind of like to do.
So let's talk about and Cooper, your post did show up, but let's talk about Wild West, especially, and I mean this to the young guys, to the young bucks that are out there starting this business. This is why it is so important. Whenever you go out and you make your $100,000, your $200,000 out here, I just beg you, don't go out and blow this money. Don't go out and just say, don't go out and feel like you need the new GMC $2,500 and go buy an $80,000 truck on that. Set yourself a reward system up for later in your life. If you're in your 30s and you're now all of a sudden making the $200,000 that you haven't made before, set some of this money aside. Set this money down for down payments. Set this money aside to buy things in investments later in a non-depreciable asset of a cool ass truck. It's a cool truck, but at the same time, it's going to be a payment. You're probably not going to be paying cash for it, and it's going to be worth less now than it is in the future. or
I
less
think this-
than it is now. Use this for down payments. Keep your books. Run your business like a business, like we've always said, so you can go out and get loans. And you can put 20% down payments on things and buy passive real estate income or invest in the stock market. I mean, this business is amazing in the respect that you can get large chunks of money and keep it sitting over at the side. You know, and if you go through that profit first mentality, which, by the way, into Orlando in January. The author, that Maclowitz, author of Profits First, is going to be the keynote speaker at the Power Wash event in January in Orlando.
When is that again?
January 10th and 11th, I think, 2022. But you know, so you do put that money aside. I mean, I mentioned the other day that we found the little account that Tanya and I had been sticking a little percentage in an IRA, and between mine and Tanya's this one IRA, not even our main retirement account, it's an extra $100,000 that we're like, oh, cool.
Cool. Didn't know that was
And I don't mean that to say, oh, that's $100,000. Weird. Yay. I mean, but it was money that literally would go in a percentage of our paychecks every month that we never touched, never needed, never wanted. And now, 4 or 5 years later, it's $100,000 amount in there. It's a substantial amount.
It adds up very quick.
Yeah,
That's why I like what Tom said. Being responsible is the most important part in the creation, implementation, and keeping your business healthy at all costs. And I think that that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind.
So here's a comment that Cooper made. Demographics makes a huge difference. Guys making $1 million in a big city might make less than a guy of 20,000 grossing 500. 100%. I mean, you're hell. That's just if you even consider things like, guys up north pay more for bleach than guys in Florida pay for bleach. I mean, it's this business is very, very regional in general. The costs associated with it, the services that people, there's people in Arkansas that are like, or Nebraska that are like, what the hell's roof cleaning? We don't need that here.
What country is that?
Huh?
Arkansas.
Like in Nebraska, people in
Nebraska. Where's that country at?
Yeah. Somewhere out west of us. It's golly, I mean, you're right, and it's changed. And if you're in a big city, well, we used to laugh, about that, comparing ourselves to something in a big city. There was a guy that was doing 1.2 in a city that was 8 times the size of mine, and I'm thinking, well, if the demographics held true, I would have been because I'm doing $1 million off of 350,000 people in my metro area. If it was the same thing, I mean, I would have been a $5-6 million company if I would have compared myself, to that standard on there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's what you keep, not what you make. That's where a great admin comes into play to keep an eye on granular details. 100%. Being responsible is the most important part in the creation, implementation, and keeping your business healthy at all costs. Mm-hmm. Amen. And again, I mean, I know that I've never been judgy about, if you want to do this and be the guy on the truck doing this your whole life, you don't want to grow your business. I get it. I understand. But understand there are very, very few of us out here that say, I want to be a 60-year-old dude pressure washing by myself at 60 years old and doing the same thing that I've been doing.
Being in the position where you have to
work, where you like it'd be great if I'm doing it after my no compete and say, I feel like going out there and making $500-600 and I'm going to dust off the old pressure washer and go out and do that. Fantastic. But if you're at 60 years old and you have to do this because this is your income, you're not going to be real happy with yourself, honestly. I mean, you're not. You're not. Trust me.
And it's amazing how quickly that money, just like Ray said with $100,000, it's so amazing how quick it builds up if you have that responsibility and that discipline for yourself. Sorry, guys. If you have that responsibility and that discipline, man, you'll be amazed at how quick that money grows. And you're all of a sudden you're sitting there going, holy crap, I mean, I went from here being $40,000, dollars in credit card debt on the verge of losing my house to, having a pretty substantial backing behind you again.
Yeah.
So it grows quickly.
Scott wants to be cool like the $99 guy,
Scott's
cool.
cool.
Whenever we have people laugh, that when they see the, our old, our spray wash boat that we have wrapped up there, and it's a beautiful looking pontoon boat, and people, see, but what a lot of people don't realize is I didn't go to Bass Pro Shop and buy a new $70,000 pontoon boat. I bought a 10-year-old sitting out in the sun looking like a piece of junk pontoon boat. And then it had a great engine on there, made sure those mechanics were good, wrapped it because the outside was ugly as homemade sin. I also wanted to, have a business write-off, and we put the new seats on there, and we did, we built the sweat equity into the boat instead of going out there. And I could have stroked a check for that boat or a larger boat at any given time. But I mean, it's not what you make; it's what you keep.
Yeah.
David Flip saying it plays in the stock market some. Absolutely. AC, delay the instant gratification as long as possible. 100% delay the instant gratification. Sitting on stashes of money doesn't make it grow. It's true. It is true. You need to have it working for you, but at the same time, and what I really want to impress upon people is get that stash of money beforehand. Don't just sit there and because Wild West
do something to create that stash.
He wants to buy those RV parks. He wants to do those investments on there. But so many guys are just, oh wow, I'm making $10,000 a month now. I deserve this, GMC 2500 Black Widow package, blah, 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 blah. And they're settled down. They put 20,000 down and they're still settled with a house payment that they drive around every month. Horrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's, we're talking about regional. Flip is at $3.15 a gallon for SH.
I'm at 0.
Jacob, another crappy state called Iowa for you Southern Bells. Jim Gamble, 1820, go to a separate account, maintenance and equipment. Absolutely.
Got to do it.
Absolutely, it should, Jim. You are correct. Baker's been on the SS spray wash. Great topic. Back at the convention, taking notes. Can't justify a 3,500 8 gallons per minute. Just keep putting it in marketing. Yeah, I mean that's. I never believe in getting debt heavy and poor in machines.
But those machines make you money.
They will make you money. I mean, I think sometimes people get a little kind of crazy, equipment wonky, and I hear the discussions in some of the forums of, I might be a little bit slower, but I'll go out and kick your ass with a 4 gallon a minute machine business-wise. But that being said, you can work more efficiently. That's the margins we're talking about on there. But don't go out and spend the $40,000 on a rig if you don't have a need for the rig
yet.
Yeah. When you hit 20,000 for 3 months, you deserve a technician. I would agree with that.
Absolutely. And it's good to have a goal set
With
to be
SH
there.
Eliminator.
Set
That's one of
yourself
these
that
things.
limit to know what you're doing.
If you're batch mixing with SH and Eliminator, fantastic, and that's, but there will be a point. I guarantee you there will be a point whenever a proportioner in your life will change your life, and you will be able to work. I mean, that's one of the things that the proportioner did that changed the whole real estate that changed the whole landscape of power washing and soft washing, and allow people to work so much faster.
As soon as Tim came out with the proportioners, I mean, I immediately launched another truck because I knew I could now,
I love this. So, and thank you so much, Cooper. Keep 3 full-time crews, sometimes 4, running in a town of 16,000 population. Couldn't imagine trying to do it in a big metro area. It has to be a nightmare. Yeah, I hate large. I think in metro areas, you almost have to say, like, okay, I work in that northeast quadrant, Buckhead, if you're in Atlanta, or a northwest area, or I'm going to work in the northeast or southwest quadrant of it. You almost have to, because you couldn't run all around Houston, Texas, unless you were really set up in a specialty commercial type scenario going after these larger projects out there. But, and it's funny that you say this. I got into a guy, I want to say argument, discussion, and made him mad. And, oh, well, I my good friend up in Albany, Lane Johnson, and I used to talk about this person, and because he was always, really poor mouthing, and I just don't have the access to customers that you have, and so on and so forth. And he did. I mean, he didn't even realize it was his own limitations. He was basically telling himself, I come from a small Georgia town, so I don't have these opportunities. Around this guy, there were more quail plantations in that very area than there are in any other place within a 50-mile, 80-mile circle around where this guy was. There were more multi-million-dollar quail plantations than anywhere else in the United States. I work at several quail plantations. In fact, I've got one coming up that I do at least once a year, if not twice a year, next week. Those people spend so much money on maintenance, it's not even funny. And if you're in, you're in. I mean, there's I dare say this. If you own a pressure washer, there is a market for washing where you are. You have to go out and discover what that market is.
But it's there.
We go to the point of guaranteeing if you own a pressure washer, there is a market for doing what you do.
And Ray, I got to tell you, I'm hitting bottom, dude.
All right, let's
I'm gonna bail out. You guys can keep going. I'm hitting hot sweats, and I got all kinds of stuff.
All right, well, I'll sign out of everything. I'll go through a couple of more. And what is that? Oh, is that hair? Thanks. Show off. I'll go through a few because, like I said, I got to go hit the night crew out there and meet the guys. But Doug, thank you. I know it's been
great being back on here, and we'll see y'all on Thursday night.
All right, buddy. Hey, get to feeling better, okay?
Peace. Appreciate y'all.
All right, see ya. Feel better. All right, guys. I'm going to go through some more of these comments. A little bit of Red Raider or EBC to batch mix. I don't know. Good question. I know Daniel Howerton, who was on here, his mix is EBC and bleach. That's what he uses, I think, on every house mix that he does. Everybody's a little bit different. The question is, do you need a degreaser in your house mix on there? Maybe. It might make a difference with stuff. Daniel swears that the EBC really helps with rinsing of the windows and makes it, amazing out there. I would say test it out and see. You're not talking about a huge investment on there. Rusty, great example out there. Wait until winter, buy the 8 on Facebook Marketplace when you're ready, because there will be people that have dropped ridiculous amounts of money on some of this equipment because they've heard people saying, oh, buy, and then they fail at their business. Every year, guaranteed, in the wintertime, there's cheap equipment for sale. Cooper is in West Tennessee, $2.33 a gallon. Josh, 89 cents in Sarasota, went to Ohio, 5.25 a gallon. Woo! One truck, one trailer, 120K. Where do you go from here? How do you get to the next level? You know, one truck, raise your prices. Because, I mean, really, a one-person truck, you should be able to get to that $180,000, $200,000 range, I feel. I don't know if you have a technician with you or not. I was telling somebody at the show, you know, one of the things that you know, he was so worried about, you know, are his technicians ready? Are his technicians ready? I said, leave them on the job. You know, I mean, that's how you can best do that, is literally leave your technicians on the job and let them do it, you know. So technicians drive it, because they had a truck skid mounted thing. They didn't have a trailer. I said, you know, if you had a trailer, drop the trailer. Tell your technician, look, I've got to run off and do an estimate. I'll be back. You know, if you get into it, you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for a while. I just got to go do an estimate real quick. I have a brief meeting, and start weaning your guys off of needing you to be their lead tech. You've got to make your own lead techs. This person had a skid system. I said, well, drive, you know, tell your tech, I need you to drive the job today because I have estimates to do close by there. I really want to maximize my time. Let your tech do it. And then, you know, tell them to go slow and steady. Do what you've trained them, and then just keep walking, you know, walk the job afterwards. Don't just throw, you know, one of these guys, you know, one of these Facebook, in fact, one of the ones that got made fun of in this channel right here, one of these guys, somewhere around here, I don't know which one, he got made fun of because, you know, he was talking about, oh, he, you know, the amazing training that he gave to his technicians. No, not the Gap guy, but the amazing training he gave to his technicians. And then he was talking about, well, you know, he was walking in his neighborhood, his neighborhood of $500,000 houses, because that's where he lives, and walked up to a technician who didn't know, he had never met the guy, and the guy was just doing a hack job on the sidewalk, even though it was supposedly his technician. When he talks about the training program he gets done, which one is it, dude? I mean, you're full of shit one way or the other. Either you've never met the guy before, or he's gone through your training program, or which one is it? I personally couldn't imagine hiring techs that I've never met before. I'm sorry. I'm calling BS on your stuff. That dude is just selling a program to people that think there's an easy button out there. There ain't no easy button out there. Flip, you've had an amazing success story, and I know you still hump it and hustle it every day. Yeah, degreaser. So Wild West talking about, you know, somebody had the question, you know, should you put the degreaser in your mix? And a lot of it has to do with what you're washing off too. Like if we're working in the downtown area, we absolutely are putting Agent Blue, which is another one of the degreasers, and they're a non-caustic degreaser, because it's going to help with the brake dust. It's going to help with smog and the atmospheric junk that's out there. Jim saying he likes to put the EBC in his soap mix. Seems to help with gutters out there. So, and I appreciate y'all thinking, you know, about Doug. Doug's doing such, you know, he's such a help to me in doing this, and such a blessing. Draper, you mean there's no easy button? Believe it or not, Michael, there is not. I've been looking for one, or just I haven't seemed to find it yet. There's a lot of guys that'll sell you stuff saying there is. Also, for those of y'all who don't know Michael Draper, Michael is head of education, or education director at PWNA. Michael Draper also does independent training on controlled descent. sent several people his way. If you ever want to get into ropes training, controlled descent, I know a lot of us call it rappelling. OSHA doesn't recognize the term rappelling. Michael Draper is absolutely the man to talk to. And Michael, if you will, drop your website in the comments, because I'm more than happy to give you a plug out here, because I think you're an amazing person and doing amazing training. And yes, actually at Spray Wash Pro, I believe there's 2 videos on how to do water towers. We do a lot of water towers every year. So yes, that's spraywashpro.com. Oh yeah, water towers are fun. Oh, look at that. See, another guy you've kept alive. Flip. So, Tom, was it the book written by a guy who's been in business for only a year that's going to tell you how to have a successful pressure washing business? Just tossing that out there. You know, the irony is with 25% of businesses failing after the first year, this guy doesn't even know if what he's telling people to do is the right thing to do, but yet he's selling books on this is how you make a successful business. Here is Michael Draper's website, Expert Safety Services. He knows his stuff. I don't say that about a lot of guys. Michael Draper does. If you need training, especially controlled descent, high work access, OSHA, any of that, Draper's the guy to go to. I have a book on success in pressure washing, still figuring out, trying to keep prices up, schedule book, ask someone else. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Yeah. Tommy, you're right. There's a lot of guys. There's so many guys, and you're right. It's downright dangerous what these people are doing. It is. It's dangerous what they're saying and doing and telling people to do. Ranger, baby, Rangers lead the way. You've done some controlled descents, at least through the canopy, jumping out of an airplane. I was hoping to find a little book or a package on here to make a point. But you know, and I don't see anything out there. But you know, any of these things, anything you buy for your business, any success package, any tool, anything that you buy is so very, very important. Here's a great one. Here's a great example right here. Up here on my desk, I've got this cooling neck gaiter, right? So this will keep me cool, I can wear it all these different ways. I've never opened this. How would I know if it's keeping me cool or not? How would I know if it works? You know, of course, this is a brand new one. We have multiple ones for the technicians. It's one of the spares. But imagine if that was a course on pressure washing. Imagine if that was Spray Wash Pro and you remember and you never actually go in there and look at the crap. Imagine it was any of this stuff. Unless you actually go and do something, doesn't matter. If you don't, you know, and I know somebody said this at some point. I don't know who it was, if it was somebody from our industry or not. But plans without implementation is just a daydream. Yes, they are. IWCA is my understanding on that. Rusty, I think they're going to jump up there and talked about earlier. I think they're going to do a lot of work with IWCA, which will be pretty darn cool because IWCA is the standard as far as glass and window cleaning. Yeah, 2 guys at 2 years in have no data determined fluke from proven process. Scott, believe it or not, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It may not be worth what it is. Michael, thank you very much. Michael's giving me the props back. But again, I don't ever claim to do the whole OSHA stuff because you're the expert in that. I believe letting the experts actually do the expert stuff. I'm a real good kind of generalized, get you to think about stuff. You're much better at actually showing the laws. I'm a huge believer in this Wild West. I do believe, I'm a firm believer in this. Anybody that sells you anything, you ought to be able to see what they ought to have a profit and loss. If they're saying, hey, I'm going to make you a success, buy from me, I'm going to make you a success in washing, I think you should have to look at their P&L on there. I think you should have to see a P&L where they've actually done what they say they've done. Because there's one of the guys out here, that little group that I showed you, the pressure washing punks, if you look at him, you would think he's really got it on because it shows him driving around and doing jobs. He does 1 or 2 jobs a month for folding pocket money and literally so he can have content. And there's more guys. It's not just this one guy there. There's lots of guys. They do shit so they can have content to put on YouTube. They don't actually have pressure washing businesses. They may have a website. They refer most of their crap out. They do just enough to make you, the consumer, think that they have a business. Buyer beware. That's exactly what they are, Tommy. They are content creators and course peddlers. And there's a lot of them out there. Guys, it is 9:37. I got to get to work. I got to get out there and see my boys. Another long one. Hold on. Let's look at this. Stuck in a rut. Wash up here in Michigan from April, October, November, short season. Do you recommend a training system or a customer database? I've been washing since 2009. I feel like I should be way further than I am. I don't know what you're doing with your, again, a customer database, a CRM program. I recommend that. I strongly do. It's hard to sit here and say, yes, you need this kind of training or, sounds like you need sales training because, that's 2009. We're talking 11 years. That's whenever I opened my business, November 2009. I've now sold my business and doesn't damn well look like it though, but I am trying to hire somebody to replace me. But I've sold spray wash. It's now crystal clean. So in 12 years, I built it from scratch, scaled it, sold it. American dream kind of stuff right there. You obviously need a CRM, but you also have to apply it. You also have to set it up. You have to be contacting those customers. You have to be going after it. Just like this neck gaiter thing that I had up there, if I'm not wearing it, it's not doing any of the cooling things. It's not keeping the sun off the back of my neck. It's doing jack crap for me. So you have to apply it, a training system. Again, it's hard to sit there and say what you need. Do you need sales training? Well, it's possible. Do you need, or is it taking you 2 days to do a house? I don't know. So it's real hard to sit there and see from, one comment, on Facebook, what it is you actually need. If you want to shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger, I'll be happy, to talk to you and see if we can figure out what it is you need. I'll point you in the right direction. So, Tom, I completely agree. Completely agree with you. Amen. Time or money, give up the money. Your time is more valuable. Dave, you're right. Flip, thank you for the compliment. You're right. Implementing the system. Somebody just coming up as Facebook user because of this freaking StreamYard interface. Anyway, you guys have an awesome night. Appreciate y'all sticking around, listening to my mindless drivel. Wash on. See y'all tomorrow. I might do a live from my job tonight.